Hello, I'm Holly Proctor. I'm the publisher of Inside Single Tree magazine. I'm here with Andy Odie, a realtor with Liv Sotheby's International Realty, our exclusive video sponsor in the neighborhood. And today we are featuring the story behind the story with Steve Tarrant with Brush Creek Landscaping and Tree Service. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out today.
Yeah.
I want to start with, I recall you started the company about 2000. How did you get into the landscaping and tree business?
Well, I started as a forester, or that was my firefighting forester. And then as I got into the urban setting and saw that there was a lot of issues going on within the residential homes and not necessarily the crop forest, there's what we call a crop forest, I started kind of resorting to that as an avenue of educating myself. And so then I got into arboriculture and started learning urban forestry management.
Yeah. And I believe you are one of very few certified arborists in the Valley?
Yeah, there's probably a handful of us, 6 to 8. There's some that are retiring who have been around, from the beginning of the Vail Valley. I started over in Summit County and kind of merged over here with another company to help out and educate people within the Valley to understand the urban setting.
Well, and I know education is really key to you. That certification, what all is involved in getting it?
Well, there's 13 domains within being an ISA Certified Arborist, and you have to kind of pass each domain by 80%. So it's educating yourself from lightning protection to pest management to risk management. So all those domains count.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really more involved and complicated than people think.
Right.
And I have to say, I love that we're doing this here at Single Tree, which I've lived here off and on, and I live here now since the early 90s, but there was a reason it was called Single Tree back in the day,
right.
And now we're full of trees. It's no longer Single Tree and Single Tree. So how perfect. I love this, that you're doing this over here. So thank you for sharing some information about trees and having people actually learn a few things and what to look for. So I love that we're sitting in front of
some unhealthy trees.
Unhealthy trees that soon will hopefully be healthy.
Yes.
So explain a little bit for people because I'm looking at it going, these look a little different.
Yep.
So
what we do is we obviously ID the tree. This is a Quaker aspen. So this tree obviously is common in this valley. It does present a lot of pest and fungi issues. And so I would say between 13 and 15 different things can go wrong with the aspen tree.
of all the aspen, it doesn't matter.
Aspen as itself. Aspen's more of a tree that's developing a grove situation, and we've put that into a dominant feature in a house or in a residential setting. So we've stressed the tree out already.
Yeah, that's a great point, because they do the aspen groves that naturally, that's how they have a whole kind of system within their own family of trees.
Correct.
I never thought about that.
If you look up on a hillside, they're all connected.
Well, I know, but I just never thought that we made the family tree alone, just its own little.
You took it from its herd.
Yeah.
And a lot of trees that were planted, obviously Single Tree's been here for a while, so these trees are mature now.
Right.
As they get, to that stage in life, I would say, college and graduating, they don't know really how to develop a strategy. When they're growing and they're driving themselves to get to college type atmosphere, they can hold their own. But once they get to maturity and over, they're starting to decline, or pests and things they stress out. So things start to come in, and protecting the trees at that time and that stage of life is key.
Yeah.
And when people neglect that, not realizing that this tree should be in a forest somewhere, not at a dominant, residential home, then protection's needed. We need to present.
Okay, so that's great. I never even put those two together, because I really did. About the groves and how they have the underground root system and they kind of talk to each other. Yeah. So what would someone like with these trees, before they get to this stage, what is the early signs? What should someone look for if starting to see some stress, or to be proactive?
Basically, discoloration. They should be a nice, bright white color. There should be a film, which is actually their sunscreen. So like when you touch the tree, you'll get a white film on your hand. That's a good sign saying that the tree is healthy. When that film starts to disappear, the tree is starting to lose that resin, which then is what protects the tree from the bugs. So when that resin goes away, then all of a sudden you get penetration of bugs. There's always bugs. Whatever we do, there's always something that's going to take advantage and after that product or that tree.
Okay, so explain what you're working on
So
with
this clump of trees, this is what we call a multi-stemmed aspen clump, has two different things going on with it. First is the bug. It's called oyster shell scale. The scale is a hard shell pest that attaches to the trunk of the tree and has two prongs that go in and just feast all year long. They are hard to penetrate because they have a hard shell. And so they have this coating that they put over themselves, so you can't penetrate them.
Is that what those, okay, can we
no,
see,
they're,
are you
they're
ready?
up here, you can kind of see the strands. They're very microscopic, so it's something that you would not really notice unless you had a magnifying glass.
Okay, so to the
It's just discoloration of the trunk.
Okay.
So then the next issue that this tree has is Cytospora, and that is a fungus that is associated with stress in the aspen trees or in all poplars. And so this tree with the bug is stressed out, so therefore now we have Cytospora, which is a fungus that is now growing. It's kind of like a cancer, and in order to get both accommodated, you have to spray two different products. So it's a fungicide and a pesticide to get this tree to be happy.
I was going to say, you're able, though, at this point, to get this tree back to being happy again?
Yeah, it's been it's one of those 50-50 scenarios because the bug is so overwhelming, it's colonized, and so therefore it's got a family and it knows how to cover most of the tree to where it's covering each other or it's doing something to keep it on the tree. So therefore, we have to go inside the tree either by injection or by a root stimulant or a surfactant, which is a trunk application. The broadcasting of a chemical as a target will not work.
Okay, so if this clump of trees here, the aspen grove here, or not grove, but clump, if this were close to another clump of aspens, is there a good chance that pest would it would pass it on? The pest would be passed on.
Yes.
We don't like that.
Yeah, and same with the fungus. The fungus is actually
It's among us.
airborne pathogen. So that airborne pathogen basically can be transported, and that spore can then get onto other trees if they're not feeling well or if they're not doing well as they should.
So is the key to catch it as early as possible? And is that just, again, by the discoloration?
Yeah, the best practice up here is being that we have such a vast quantity of aspen trees and a lot of second homeowners. What I suggest and what we try to provide is just a protective service, right? So we just come in and spray all the trees or we inject them. If you don't like the spray, we have other products. And those products can cost a little bit more, but they're eco-friendly, so that we're not dealing with birds or bees or any of the bird feeders. Everyone's like, well, I got to pull my bird feeders down.
Right.
No, we actually can go in with an injection. We can go in the ground. We can do a surfactant. There's all these different things that we can apply to handle the pest without just sitting there spraying a tree.
So do you recommend then for people that have a lot of trees on their property is it a year, once a year that you diagnose and just kind of make sure everything's good and spray?
Yeah, I would say that's a good direction because we as arborists like to do an inspection every 2 years just to see how your forest is doing. It's not necessary to do it every year, but keep that program going. It's a low cost program. I mean, yeah, it might cost $10 a tree, and you might have 100 of them. I don't know. I mean, that can be expensive.
Yeah.
But if it's 2 or 3 trees on your property that you're really concerned about, yeah, I mean, $70, $75 per year. It's a real low budget, item for you to handle.
Oh.
So,
Well, if you have an investment in the trees, it makes sense to invest and maintain.
well, because it brings value. As another item that us as arborists, we do valuations, and so we actually go around and we can tell you what all your forest is worth. And if a fire came in, if something were to happen, your house burnt down and the trees around the house burnt down, take pictures, and that way when you go to your insurance company, you can say, this is the vegetation that I had. And as an arborist, we can look at that picture and say those trees were probably worth, $20,000 each.
Yeah.
And you will get that return in your insurance policy.
Wow, I did not know that.
Science.
Okay.
Especially with fires, that's a big key element because you put a lot of emphasis and money into those trees
Right.
to keep them and make your house, valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore you have value in vegetation.
Yeah, well, and these trees, like you said, they've been here for a long time.
Yep.
I mean, literally, some of these trees are 30 plus years old, and so they started off as little guys, and now they're big and worth a lot more, and they bring us the shade and the, the beauty. So that's really good to know. Great to learn always about the trees.
Tell us another project that's on this property. I would believe there's a tree that's leaning. So tell us a little bit about what you had to do for that poor tree.
What's happened in this dynamic here is we have a vast amount of trees. And as we plant trees as landscapers, we don't realize the growth. And that's why a landscaper, as an arborist, we do. So having both credentials kind of gives us an upper edge on how we provide a landscape program.
Yeah.
So this year, what happened is she planted 4 or 5 trees that really are too close together. The spruce tree was trying to give way for other trees and get to the sun. Well, in that scenario, you start to get a lean, and we took out the other trees because they were actually too much for the corner. And so now with the sun, the tree, and the wind, we've got a tree that's starting to lean. So now Mother Nature has looked at this as, okay, well, he can't handle it because of the sail that he provides. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, trying to get to the sun and turning, it takes 5 to 6 years for a tree to actually turn and get back to growing straight again. She's more concerned about it falling on the road, which it's an act of God. It can happen.
Yeah.
We can't predict that. With all of my research within that one tree or within that crop there, I have to say that risk is there.
Yeah.
And so therefore she just said, hey, let's take it out. She has plenty of trees on the property. I wouldn't be worried about it. Right. It'll definitely be kind of an open area. So with that, as a landscaper, I said, well, let's bring in another tree to replace this one. So we're going to excavate the roots, put a nice tree well in, and then plant another tree. And
you take that big tree out.
So we're going to take the big tree out.
The leaning tree.
The leaning tree, which is just behind those 2 aspens.
Yep.
And then we're going to put another tree in.
A different type of tree.
No, we're going to use an evergreen.
Okay.
Yep. So we actually went with the fir instead of the spruce because she has enough spruce. She has some pines. So we're going to get into the fir family and put a fir tree in.
Well, that's why it's important to talk to people such as yourself who are experts in the trees and the growth, because too many times I've been here over 37 years, and literally I've seen these neighborhoods that had no trees, like single tree, and then everyone just wanted instant trees around. They planted too close, and I've seen that so many times that people have had to remove trees down the 10 years down the road because they didn't realize and compensate for the growth of later. So you're someone definitely valuable to talk to say, okay, let's plan properly and having what you want to achieve long term.
And most people understand, any of us arborists, we understand that, but we're here to help you guys out as well. And that's what ISA is for. We're in that structure of understanding that they're presenting the education. We can get it to you. There's pamphlets, there's everything that you, if you want something, we can get it to you.
Great.
Okay. As it starts to drop here, just quickly, so we've talked about pesticides, we talked about fungus, we've talked about tree management and planting. Any other areas of service we should know about?
Well, we do a full landscape, on your house. We do mowing, we do turf management. So we're a full spectrum landscape company. So from arborist to turf management, to shrub bed maintenance, all of that. So we handle it all.
Full service.
Full service.
Full service, which is
with
great.
a certified arborist, which is hard to find. Okay, I love it. Well, great.
Well, thank you. I've been enlightened. I didn't know that about her. They're so beautiful. You don't think about all those things, right?
Yeah. So it's good to educate, and get you guys on the right page on what needs to be done.
Thanks for sharing.
Very much.
Much appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Cool. Yep, you
Really
bet.
appreciate
All right.
it. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Holly.
Appreciate it.
for
Okay.
having me. Yep.
Perfect timing.
Exactly.